Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie McCauley of Wholehearted Parenting, and welcome to Three Things Chats That Inspire, where I have this awesome opportunity to talk to people that I like and respect and who have very inspiring, interesting things to say. So I want to introduce you today and to welcome Sarah Barnard, who is going to be speaking with us today about respect. And let me tell you a little bit about Sarah. She is our neighbor. I was so happy when she moved to New Mexico. And she grew up in Southern California, and she had a stint in Colorado and then got her degree in Southern California. And she worked for 13 years with the Long Beach Police Department as a forensic specialist. And during that time, what she did was crime scene photography, evidence processing, and latent print examinations. And she served as an expert witness in court. And during that time, too, the people that she met who were victims and survivors really inspired her to want to assist people in a more immediate way. So she got her master's in social work. And I thought it was great. While she was getting her master's degree at Cal State Long Beach, she worked full time. So that meant sometimes she was studying for an exam or reading research articles while she was on break at a crime scene. So she was the program manager for the elder abuse prevention at Wise and Healthy Aging in Santa Monica. And she developed the holistic elder abuse response team. She had a presence in the special victims unit of the Long Beach Police Department and got direct referrals to this program from detectives. So she did a lot as a part of that program. And she moved to New Mexico in 2019 to have a little breathing room, which is, I think, why a lot of us have moved here. And she works today in private practice, mostly in the area of trauma using EMDR. And her practice is full. So welcome, Sarah. I'm so happy you're with us today.
Thanks for having me, Maggie.
Yeah, and I love the way that you've broken down the things about respect, which is our topic. And so we'll just jump right into number one, which is you broke it down into self and internal interactions.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for reaching out to me. It means a lot that you would want to have a conversation with me about this. Um, once you brought up the topic of respect, I really started to sit and think about it and think what respect means to me. And then I wanted to look up how people define respect. And it really is defined as sort of a noun and a verb. So it's a really interesting word. And I thought the best way to conceptualize it would be to kind of look at the different layers. So we'll start as a social worker. I always go, we kind of look at the micro and macro of everything. So I figured I'd start with the most basic layer, and that's sort of self-respect. And self-respect is an interesting concept because you wonder how you develop it. Is it how you're raised? Is it some of it a temperament that we're born with a sort of element of self-care, self-respect, self-esteem? I think those are all in the general neighborhood of each other. And also what we observe, right? How we see people who matter to us respect themselves, respect others. I think that informs our own self-respect. So I think we can't really define any version of respect without its polar opposite of disrespect. So I'm going to kind of talk about both elements in all of these layers here. So when I think of respect, it's sort of with self-respect, it's sort of my own inherent worth. Really a true acceptance of myself, and probably getting that from truly being seen and having that accepted by others.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I think in having self-respect, then that means that I'm going to be more open to having respect for others and seeing them, that this is sort of a mutual thing. And then in having self-respect, this is going to tap into boundaries, in honoring my own boundaries, and even knowing that I have the right to boundaries, if it's physical, mental, or emotional, that's something that starts so young, um, that we learn, and that kind of adds to an element of self-respect.
I love that. Yeah. And, I was thinking about respect and self-respect. We were talking before we started recording about the movie The Quiet Girl. And there's so much that you can draw from that about self-respect. And I wondered what this young girl's thoughts were about herself, having grown up so neglected. Um, and I guess we could do a whole different story about that. So I love that you began with self-respect and what is running through our minds all the time? What is our self-talk? What do we say to ourselves about ourselves and about the situations that we're in? It's also tied in together. And
Yeah.
number two is at the micro level, and that's individual interactions.
Yeah. So I wanted to try and draw from some of my own experiences in life, and mostly professionally. So when I think of micro, I'm thinking of like the next layer of us in the world. And so maybe in smaller groups or individual interactions. So kind of on the respect side, I think I really think of it as through a therapist's eyes. When I am exhibiting respect, I want to respect my client's autonomy. And as a client centered therapist, I want to respect they're the expert on their life.
Mm.
I think old school therapists, um, probably there's a lot of therapists out there that do this, kind of have a dynamic where they are the expert, and the client is almost the student. And I'm more from the Carl Rogers school of seeing the common humanity. So really seeing someone, looking into their eyes, seeing their inner wisdom, you know, because it's in everybody. And I think, again, as a therapist, this is actually leads to less burnout, because when I respect someone's decisions and the timing of things in their life, um, that gives me more room. So I may think I know what would be most helpful for them, but it doesn't mean anything unless we're sort of a united front in my office, in our relationship. Um, and again, this comes down to boundaries. So when I establish boundaries with clients, I'm also giving them permission to establish boundaries. And maybe that's the first time they've had someone establish boundaries. Maybe they're seeing me respect my boundaries, then they know they can respect their boundaries. So, kind of using our relationship to help them realize their own self-respect. And then I think kind of disrespect in this realm, the first thing that came to mind as with my work in therapy is intimate partner violence.
Mm.
So that's sort of when, that occurs when you are disrespected by a partner. And this can look so many different ways, right? And ultimately, again, it goes down to boundaries. It's this lack of honoring of, maybe a physical boundary or an emotional boundary or financial boundaries. Um, so they can be weaponized against someone. And then that starts to erode their sense of self-respect, right? And
Awesome.
then so you see how all of these levels of respect kind of feed off of each other. So then when we start to disrespect ourselves, we make poorer decisions for ourselves. We make less healthy decisions, harmful decisions.
And if, what's been modeled for us as we've grown up, as we grew up around respect, what we see the adults around us doing with one another and towards us, or
Yeah.
towards the child, that is our world of respect. That is what we see as being respectful, and it could be highly disrespectful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Maggie, thinking about that movie,
Uh-huh.
when I was watching that movie as a therapist, and I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I was thinking about how this relationship this little girl establishes with these healthier, respectful adults, regardless of what happens in her future, she will always have that chapter of her life to draw from,
True.
to feed into her sense of self worth, as a sort of anchor. Because I see clients have a very small interaction with someone and they hold on to that like a life raft throughout their lives. And that's what we use. That's what we use as resource in therapy. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. And if you guys who are watching this haven't seen The Quiet Girl, I really highly recommend it, and make sure you take Kleenex with you. The macro community and societal interactions.
Yeah. So I think when I think of macro, I think I had this very unique experience working for the police department. So, as a forensic specialist, I was a civilian. Okay. I wore a uniform, but it wasn't a cop uniform. So, people knew I was with the police, but I wasn't the police. I wasn't there to get them in trouble. I was there to investigate crime. So, everyone thought that forensics was cool. They watched CSI, whatever. So, I was able to be this sort of person in the middle. Um, I didn't, my presence didn't cause fear or tension just because I was with the crime lab. I'm like the nerds. Um, and so I had this sort of unique position as a witness, you know. And I was thinking in this realm of being involved with the police, I was thinking of two types of respect. Okay. And I'm going to use an 80s movie reference. I was thinking of the Karate Kid. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I was thinking of the respect born out of admiration, like Mr. Miyagi, or the respect born out of fear, like Cobra Kai. Okay. So on the Mr. Miyagi side, I I think of police who, you could see the types of humans they were. They would gravitate towards more community policing, mental evaluation team, um, maybe a detective setting in the domestic violence unit. So you could see from who they were, how they showed up in the world, they would show up as police officers in that realm. And I saw them interact with other people as humans first, right? And that there's so much power in that because when these people feel respected and seen,
Mhm.
not immediately judged, there is just less anger, less of that counter disrespect
Right.
of you don't respect me, why would I respect you? And this is, I'm really, really simplifying something because this is police and this is versus particular neighborhoods, particular ethnicities and their relationship from, going way back.
Right.
But on sort of the sort of police officer meets citizen, whatever, you have, when those officers respected that person, it was a very different interaction.
Absolutely.
It was de-escalating,
Yeah.
right?
Well, one word that you said way back when we first started was honoring.
Yep.
And, seeing people and honoring who they are
Yeah.
and holding another human being as sacred, even if you disagree with them or you don't have a lot in common, but seeing that, as you said, common humanity, which
Right.
is all a part of, that's part of self-compassion, to see
Absolutely.
our common humanity.
Absolutely.
That changes the whole ball game in the world. You know,
Yeah.
that's I love what you
Sure.
said, and if people who are watching would like to get into the topic of respect in a deep way, if you're triggered when you encounter perceived disrespect, we have a workshop coming up this weekend on Saturday, March 18th. And you can go online, just go to Wholehearted Parenting and click on the shop. It'll be absolutely the first thing that you see. Also want to let you know we have a parent group starting this fall. It's over Zoom. We will meet 4 times. You'll get 6 hours of training and coaching. It includes coaching, and we have some really great topics that we'll begin talking about in each of the 4 times that we meet. We also have a coaching group starting August 1st. And this is not a training to be a coach. It's for anyone who would like to experience coaching in a communal setting. I think we work and learn so great in community. And this will be a very safe space to get into a lot of other good topics and to receive coaching if that's something you've been wanting to do. And both of these groups are a maximum of 6 people and a minimum of 3. So I want to thank you so much, Sarah. And there's your dog, June. And where is that photo taken?
That's out of Aguilar, Colorado.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good
Very
place.
neat. Thank you so much for all that you've shared today and for being here, for being
Yeah.
our neighbor. And thank everybody who took the time to be with us today. Thanks so much for being here.